Here we go. Welcome, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. We were rocking it over here. Dan and I actually did a Tough Mudder this weekend, which was awesome. We had a great team and finished strong. It was an amazing experience for anyone that has done this before. I'm sure you can understand, and if you haven't, definitely pursue one in your local area. It's the epitome of camaraderie and our whole philosophy of together that we achieve more. It was really an amazing experience. I mean, to be that dirty is just, that by itself is fascinating, but it is a challenge, and it's rather rewarding when you complete that challenge. So definitely find one locally or travel to one. Let's dig in though. Today we're talking about communication, and we're going to dive into the 4 campaigns and create an empathy map around those campaigns, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but let's dig into some updates. So as many of you have seen, there has been a lot of discussion around the war room training that we are producing, and the coordinator choice in particular. Now that you obviously have the dashboard and we keep adding to the library, there is an abundance of opportunities and ideas that you can pursue. There's going to be probably around close to 75 now, but there will be over 75 within the next couple of weeks as we keep adding the ones that are currently in queue, and then we will eventually far surpass that number as we just continue to grow and you guys submit your ideas. So what we recognize is that there's a ton to choose from, and we want to give you some structure and guidance. So that's what the coordinator choice represents. We posted that for November to make it easy for you, and we will send it out again. These are recommended campaigns for the month of November, and you should have already selected your November campaigns, and if you're having any trouble doing that, make sure that you reach out to support@synpractic.com. But we will share the coordinator's choice once again, just so you have access to that, and it is readily available, and you're selecting your campaigns, because it's important to obviously choose campaigns way in advance so that whatever you're doing this month, you can start pitching next month, so that if you are doing a workshop in October, or you're doing the Halloween Harvest Hootenanny, then what you're able to do is pitch whatever you're doing in November at that event. So people start seeing that there's a culture here, and that culture is one of fun, of health, of that social relationship. So that's really an important thing to keep in mind. So what we're producing for you is an entire structure. It's going to be a video sequence and downloadable documents as well that you can use to conduct your own war room. It's going to be extremely comprehensive, and it's already in the works. We're actually just storyboarding it out right now so that we know exactly how we're going to deliver it, and we're going to start the process of recording this content. And this will be a very special experience. Many of you have probably done a war room before, and some of you probably haven't, but regardless of your experience, this will be different. This is what we do here. The software platform that all of you have access to, which was a 17-month venture and $2.5 million, is the result of a war room that we conducted, where we all sat down together and we talked about the vision of what was possible. And then we laid the groundwork to actually do it, and then everybody picked their roles and responsibilities, and then look what we have is a very powerful platform for you. So I would say that we're experts on this. So what we're going to be putting together is something that really guides you and your team through that process, and we're really excited to see what comes of it, because it's going to be a very special experience. And if you've never done this before with your team, you're going to notice there's a newfound level of commitment from each of the players on your squad, because now they finally feel heard, which is so critical when trying to build a culture like all of you are looking to do. But in the meantime, make sure that you use the coordinator choice for November, pick your November campaigns, and then be on the lookout, because we will be sending out this extremely comprehensive training soon. In addition, you probably saw the response to Dr. Cole's question around, why did I incorporate chiropractic into my life? I was already living this extremely healthy lifestyle, and what about chiropractic ended up making so much sense to me when I was first exposed to this about a decade ago, when I was exposed to chiropractic for the first time. So I recorded that video. It is posted in the Facebook group. Take a look at it. If you want this video on your website in your testimonial section, we are happy to do that. Just email support@synpractic.com. This is kind of like an unsolicited testimonial, because it's truly from the heart. It's how I feel, and what I shared on that video is what happens when it comes to my communication of chiropractic. And it's always exciting when I'm sitting down with aspiring entrepreneurs and they ask, what has allowed you to do it? What gave you the edge? And they always expect me to say something like a book that I read or a course that I took or a mentor that I had, and I always say chiropractic and the lifestyle that represents, and they're shocked. And then I explain it, and they're like, wow, I get it, and then they pursue it. So the point of that is that what I shared on that video happens to be exactly what the world wants. It's just they haven't connected the dots yet. And it just is about connecting the dots. And that's what marketing does, especially the way that we define marketing as education. That's really the key. The key is the consistency. We see chiropractors now that post on Facebook all the time with their success stories, and many people that haven't even really started marketing yet. They think their site just launched, maybe one email went out, and as a result, they're just getting just incredible momentum that's building. And that's no coincidence. I mean, coincidence is derived from the term coincide, which means a perfect match. That's happening intentionally. That's the power of consistency when it comes to marketing and education. This is the central nervous system of your business, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because you're all here because you recognize that, but it's just important to also at points begin to reinforce it so that you recognize why you're doing this all of the time and why it's important to have at least one campaign, if not two campaigns, every month, so that you are always on the mind of your people. Always, and I mean that, always on the mind of your people. We're entering into the holiday time. You want to be on the mind of your people when they're going trick-or-treating with their kids, and their kids are getting all of this candy, and they're thinking about you, saying, oh, how do I get rid of this candy? What can I do to swap it out? Or on Thanksgiving dinner, when they're sitting down and everybody's passing around all of these highly caloric foods that are processed, and they're thinking to themselves, okay, I need to make sure that I have high quality protein and some high quality organic vegetables. What should I choose? Because I want to make my chiropractor proud. Or during the Christmas time and the New Year time where there's alcohol and they pass on it because they want to make you proud. That's what marketing allows you to achieve. It means that you are on the mind of people even when they're not with you. And like I said, I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm doing it intentionally to reinforce that the experience that you're having where people are actually responsive is something that you should expect, because they want what you offer. They just don't know to call it chiropractic. So once you bring that to their attention, now they get it, and now it's easy. Just be super consistent. So keep rocking it. Everybody's doing a great job. But you can definitely use that chiropractic testimonial video if you want on your website, or really wherever you want to use it. Just email support@synpractic.com. We'll get that code added for you. And then in addition, Dr. Ermacher, who many of you have seen post regularly in the Facebook group, he is an absolute expert when it comes to lead generation. I mean, he has studied it. He has invested an enormous amount of money and time to master it. He's very effective with this. And he produced 2 trainings. These are exclusive to the tribe. So just take him up on the offer that he is proposing there. There is zero financial benefit to us whatsoever. He has a great idea, and I think it's something that could benefit all of you, and he's very attracted to this group because you are forward thinkers. You are looking at your business differently because you have a marketing cap on. And he has put something together that is extremely powerful, plus it's a training, so you can even do it for yourself because you can learn from it. But watch those videos. It's definitely worth your time. It'll get you thinking about things differently. And think about it, the Academy is built to do that. The Academy is built to put on your marketing cap. And remember, we're automating your marketing, but we want you to think like a marketer so that you begin to network more effectively. You communicate more effectively. You're more persuasive. You're more creative and innovative. Your team is more empowered. That's what it means to think like a marketer. So those are kind of the updates for the week. One of the things that we are going to do is dive into a subject that we touched on last week when Dr. Mike V posed the question of like almost like rejection, like how do practice members handle rejection? If somebody says like let's say for example you're doing End Someone Suffering Month and you're having a conversation with one of your ambassadors and they're all fired up and they go and they talk to somebody and then whoever they speak with says, yeah, I don't really know, this isn't for me. Like, how can we train your ambassadors to have the wherewithal to address the quote-unquote rejection so that they can move that person down the field, because we know that once that person moves down the field and into your clinic, their life is going to change. So what can we do? Well, how do we educate those people? And the way we educate them is the way that I'm going to educate you right now. And I'm going to share a strategy. This is going to be a little bit of a training for the next 10 to 15 minutes, and you're going to start seeing that the SYNMINDs are going to start morphing into this a little bit, because I see this as a perfect forum for us to dig into some skill acquisition. Next year in particular, we're going to kind of reformat these a bit. They're going to be awesome. There are times we're going to bring in guest speakers. This is stuff that you guys have actually suggested to us that we always listen. And they're going to be pretty powerful outside of us just brainstorming around the campaigns, because many of you are going to be doing all different things. Like as you begin to plan out your year, what one doctor might be doing in January is what somebody else is doing in March, and those trainings may already be recorded in the academy. So there's no reason just to reiterate what already took place, and what if we use this time a little bit differently. And there's some really cool ideas here. But one of the things we want to talk about is this concept of rejections. And the reason this is so important, especially in the communication section, is because over the years, I'm kind of like uniquely positioned to share this message with you. And the reason is because I have had the pleasure of working with thousands of chiropractors almost over the past decade. It's almost been 10 years in this profession. I think within actually a few weeks it has been 10 years. And during this time, I've also spoken on, at least 100 platforms. And I always have this dialogue with chiropractors about the importance of communicating their why. And it shows up in some way, shape, or form. And if you've heard me speak, it's always interactive. And I always ask people, why do they do what they do? And they come out with some profound statement about how they struggled as a child with regard to their health, and they saw a chiropractor, and then everything changed. And as a result of that transformation, it set them on their journey to go and impact people's lives. And I'm like, well, that's a fantastic story. Have you shared that with every single person that has entered your office? And that's when all of a sudden this extremely powerful chiropractor begins to shrink down, and they're like, well, not everyone. And I'm like, well, why pick and choose? Like, how do you even pick and choose? Like, what does that even look like? And they were like, I don't know. I share it with people when I feel like they'll be receptive. So I say, okay, but why not everyone? And what we finally get to is that the root of this is a fear. And the fear is that of rejection, because there's a story that we attach to the response that the potential practice member or practice member shares. And that story is, I'm not good enough, or they don't want me, or if I was a medical doctor, they would say yes, or whatever that story is for you. And I get it. No one really wants to be rejected. Like, that's not a good feeling. But the reality is that you're not being rejected. That's the reality. There's this concept, and you may have been exposed to this way of thinking, but I'm going to introduce it within the framework of rejection so you can get this. Everything in life is what it is, and then the words that you attach to what is become decisive. So if you're sitting down with a prospective practice member and you share an opportunity, and then their response is, I can't afford it, or I'm not interested, or my spouse said no, whatever their response is, like what is that you shared an opportunity and they had a response. What you've attached to that is a story of I'm not good enough. And if you come from the place of I'm not good enough, there's no way that you can empower them to make this decision. So the key to recognize here is that we need to redefine what rejection actually is. I know many of you have heard this story, but I'm going to share it again right now. When I was 19 years old, I went door to door in Manhattan and Brooklyn selling credit card processing to small business owners. I was that dude that would walk into your practice in a full suit and tie and a port, like over my shoulder, like a briefcase, and I would come in and try to either sell you new processing if you already had processing, or get you started if you weren't taking credit cards. I was that guy. It doesn't get much worse than that, but for a 19-year-old that had one semester left in college, this was the best experience of my life. And what I was told is that you need to see 100 businesses every day to get one sale. 100 businesses a day to get one sale. Do you realize that was 99 people that would be saying no to me? They were, quote-unquote, rejecting me. And if I were to have interpreted their response as rejection, I would have been morbidly depressed. Because they weren't just saying, no, I'm not interested. They were like jumping over the counter and throwing me out of their business because this wasn't in good areas in Manhattan and Brooklyn. And instead, I didn't interpret it ever as no, I'm not interested in you, but rather I interpreted it as I'm confused. Please tell me more. And this is a really important thing to recognize because I could have interpreted this as I'm not good enough. I must not be an effective salesperson. I must not be persuasive enough. And guess what would happen if I interpreted it that way? I would have a dialogue with a business owner. They would say, no, I'm not interested. Get out of here, because that's how aggressive they were. I would leave that business, and I'd be harping on this story of I'm not good enough. I then walk into the next business coming from this place of I'm not good enough, which means that I'm not good enough once again to communicate to this individual. I'm not on my A game. So they come back with a response, once again, I'm not good enough, and that builds on itself. And the reality is that you never know. For me, when I was going door to door, I never knew which door would say yes because the law of averages always works out. 1 in every 100 businesses was going to say yes. So the key is that I just needed to show up for every business as if that was the only one that I was seeing because there's a chance that that business would say yes. Well, what about you? What about in your scenario? I know that if you saw 100 people for a first visit, at least 80, if not 90 or 95 would say yes to care. I know that. So maybe between 5 to 20 people say no, but between 80 to 95 say yes, which means that you would be the #1 salesperson 100 times over at the company I was at. Because I became #1 in the country selling credit card processing, and I was closing 1.2% of the people that I saw, a little bit over 1 every day. And I was the #1 person in the country. You close 80 to 95%. But there's that 5% that may just not be ready. And then as a result, if you do harp on that, and then as a result you hold that inside, are you able to show up for that next person who is only having one opportunity to sit down with you and get all of you? Or in the back of your mind, are you telling yourself this story of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy? If I was a medical doctor, they would say yes. And this might sound silly to you, or if you're honest, it might not. We have some clinics that are part of the tribe that are of the highest volume in the entire country. And I've had this dialogue with them one-on-one because many of them I've known for years, and they even admit to it. They even say that when the 1 person out of 100, because they close 99 of them, says no, it bothers them. Like, they think about it all night. It's upsetting to them, and I get it. You really care. You care so much. But do you care enough to let go of it and to recognize that their no is not a personal attack, but rather their no is tell me more? So let's now go through some of the most common quote-unquote rejections, even though they're really just responses, and find the best method to overturn them. Because if what they're really saying is just tell me more, then that means that there's an opportunity to still engage them and to bring them into your clinic. So one of the things that I'm sure that you hear on a regular basis is it's too expensive. So what if we were to just interpret that differently? So what if instead of it being it's too expensive, the way that we interpreted that is how can this be an investment? Because the key with any response is that you flip it and you turn it into a question. Because you would never feel attacked if someone asked you a question. You would just respond to the question. So if somebody were to say to you, it's too expensive, the question they're actually asking is, how can this be an investment? If somebody were to say to you, I don't have time, really the question they're asking is, how can I fit this in my schedule? If the response was, my spouse said no, really what they're asking you is, how can I explain this to my spouse? If their response to you was, my medical doctor told me not to do it, well, your response might be, your medical doctor is an idiot. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. But really, your response might be, how can I tell my medical doctor what I need? Because that's their question. They just really want to know how to convey this message. So those are 4 of the, I would imagine, most common quote-unquote responses. If there's others, post them in the Facebook group and we'll find a way to twist that. Now, what the reality of this, though, is that my belief is this. 80% of the time that someone's responding to you with one of those quote-unquote rejections, 80% of the time, what they're really saying is, I don't get it. That's the reality of it. They might lead with, I can't afford it, but at the root of it, if we were to go a little bit deeper, and I'm going to teach you how, what they're really saying is, I don't get it. Because if I got it, then I would do it, right? Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, your central nervous system is the master control of your entire body. So if there's something that is interfering with your central nervous system, then the outcome is a condition that's going to limit the quality of your life. And it makes complete sense. Like, and I'm a layperson sharing that with you. I don't need to get scientific here. So when they talk about money, really what they're saying is, I don't get it. And when they talk about their schedule, what they're really saying is, I don't get it. Or about their spouse, what they're really saying is, I don't get it. Or if they're talking about their medical doctor, what they're really saying is, I don't get it. And I'm being repetitive for a reason. Because right now, there's a chance that when somebody responds with anything other than yes, you interpret it as, I'm not good enough, when really what you should be thinking to yourself is, how do I add a question mark and then get to the root of it, which is, I don't get it. So here's the strategy. And 80% of the time, they just don't get it, which means all you need to do is educate them more. All you need to do is connect the dots for them. But there is a 20% of the time where what they're saying is the truth. They might just not be able to afford your care in that present moment. They just really might not be able to. But here is a strategy to overturn objections. And this is how it works. It's called sideline twice, and then you're at the root of what is preventing them from getting started, and then address whatever that is. So what does sideline twice mean? Let's pretend that somebody comes to you after you go through the report of findings and says, I can't afford the care. So the response should be to sideline their response. So you say, okay, I hear you, Mary. Let's just put money on the sideline for a moment, and let's pretend that money was not your challenge right now. Would you then pursue the plan that I put in place? And at that point, Mary's going to be honest with you, and she'll either say, well, yes, which then that means that money truly is her challenge, or she'll say, really, Doc, to be honest, my husband he doesn't see the value in this. And then your response should be, okay, Mary, I hear that. Let's put money and your husband on the sideline just for a moment. If both money and your husband were on the sideline right now, would you pursue the plan that I put in place? Well, if she says, well, then yes, then you know that you got one level deeper, so it's not money, but rather it's her husband. If she says, well, to be honest with you, Doc, like, I just don't have time, that's really where the root of her objection is. The third objection is the root. The third response is the root of what's holding her back. And that's what you want to address, unless when you sideline something, she says, no, I just can't do it. It's because of the money. So then what do? The response is this. It's called feel, felt, found, close. And we've spoken about this before, but we've never really done it in this context. So feel. So Mary, I know exactly how you feel. You want to make sure she realizes that, like, you can empathize with her. Remember, we're going to be digging into that in a moment. I know exactly how you feel. Over the years of serving thousands of people, other people have felt the exact same way as you. Their spouse just wasn't on board. But what we have found is that when I had the opportunity to sit down with their spouse and to really explain what chiropractic is all about and how it's going to dramatically improve the quality of your life, they got it, and they said, let's do it. So let's schedule a time for me to speak with your spouse so that I can share what I've already shared with you, so that he can then understand why this is the path for you to pursue. What day and time works best to schedule that? So it's feel, felt, found, close. That's how you overturn someone's response, which is not rejection, it's just their response. Once again, feel, I know how you feel. Others have felt the same way. What we found is this, and then close. This is a technique that the most successful salespeople use, and I'm excited to see all of you employ it, because it will work for you. but you need to think about it, you need to own it, and then let it run off your mouth really smoothly. Because this is what, I mean, when I went door-to-door sales, this is what I used in order to move us downfield, and I was the #1 salesperson in the country by just connecting with people through that mechanism. So this was a training we just wanted to share with you within the framework of communication. So Dan, why don't you do a little recap of our last call when we focused on internal marketing?
Sure, and that was like really helpful stuff. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we talked about last week when we really dove into internal marketing was, what's your story when it comes to internal marketing? Is it, I don't want to inconvenience people? Is it, you know, they won't actually go out, people won't actually go out and promote it for me, people won't build referrals? We encounter this a lot, and a lot of times we'll talk to one-on-one with DCs, and their response when we ask something like why don't you invite people or give them the permission to come to your workshop, or invite other people to the workshop. You know, the typical responses are, well, I don't feel like I'm in that position, or I don't want to inconvenience them, or whatever that answer is. And very much along the lines of what Jared talked about on the last call when it comes to the story that you're telling yourself, you need to be aware of when you're saying that and when you kind of get caught up in those cycles. So when we talk about internal marketing, we give you all these strategies to communicate with your existing audience, the people who are most loyal to you. And when you have these, you know, call them limiting beliefs if you want to, call them whatever you want, but when you have these kind of roadblocks in the way of having an honest conversation with your practice members and saying, this is how this or teleseminar or referral campaign is going to impact you and benefit the community, then you have a responsibility to communicate that. And so when you think about it in that terms, like you have that responsibility, then it becomes a little bit easier. Those roadblocks kind of start to fade away. So that's a lot of what we talked about last week. The next thing that we talked about is being one relationship away from explosion, and explosion being a good thing. The example, Jared, that you brought up with the, I think it was the chiropractor in South Carolina, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was north of South Carolina with the church.
Yeah, north of South Carolina. He went to the local pastor of this mega super large church, and the pastor actually paid for care plans for the entire congregation, and that was a $250,000 deal. So that's just one relationship that DC had found, and that just originates from an email, that originates from a phone call, or sitting down for coffee, or tea, or whatever, and just having a conversation. That's how those things start. And a lot of people are kind of either mildly intimidated all the way up to mortified to like reach out to local businesses. So we make that, you know, as easy as possible for you by writing the letters, writing the emails for you, explaining what the process is, but ultimately take that initiative and reach out to those people, because you could be just one relationship away from that explosive growth. Because when you reach out to external channels and reach out to new audiences, those are people who are going to be open and willing to learn your message and learn what you do that have never heard of you before. So it's an extremely rich opportunity for you to pursue. The next thing we talked about for internal marketing was with your staff, empowering your staff to get up, get excited, get motivated to talk about the campaigns. A lot of that is we're really going to dive into that in a deep way with this war room training that Jared was talking about earlier. But when it comes to internal marketing, make sure that your staff is bought in, and that they, number one, know the details of the upcoming events, but number two, that they had a say in what events they're going to be doing. So when the event actually comes up and when it's you know, on the horizon, you guys are marketing it, they're going to be emotionally invested in it, because they not only are interested in it, but they had a say in and an impact on what the event is actually going to turn out to be like. So get your staff involved and have them sit down for either that weekly meeting or that monthly meeting when you decide what the next couple of months are going to hold in terms of marketing, and get their input and include them in the process. You're going to find that they're going to be much more engaged. The next thing that we did was dive into pattern interrupts and anchors. Now, pattern interrupts are things that people notice when they come into your office for the first time, or when they're coming to your office and something's radically different than what it was the last time that they came. They're walking into your office in this everyday life kind of pattern where they're on their phones, they're kind of blocking most of the stuff out, and they're just in the zone that they've built for themselves. So pattern interrupts break through that zone, and they say, you're in a new environment, pay attention, because there's something interesting here. And so that prompts them to ask a question. So the pattern interrupts for the campaigns that we went into last week, are designed to do that. They're designed to capture people's attention. And then the anchor is a way for them to stay connected to that event and stay aware of it even after they leave the office. So we shared pattern interrupts and anchors for each of the campaigns. And then finally, the internal marketing, kind of one of the universal things that we shared, was to give permission to the guests to bring, give permission to your practice members to bring guests to the event. A lot of times people do not assume that that's allowed, or they think it's frowned upon to either overstep the boundaries or overstay their welcome or whatever that is. So give them that permission to bring guests, and you'll find that they're going to be much more willing to have that conversation with people. So that's internal marketing. Quick recap of last week's call. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely go watch the replay. It's a good one.
Fantastic. Great job. So some reminders for this week. We have our Business Pros on Wednesday, which is the 17th at 12 o'clock, and Dan is going to be talking about Digital Networking 101, and I believe the next week you're doing 201, you said. So this will be a sequence.
101 and 201. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the Timeouts, which is the conference call for the staff at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Wednesday. It's called The Little Touches That Count. Definitely either tune in live or watch or listen to the recording of this. This stuff makes a world of difference. We do this to you guys, and for those of you who have experienced it, you recognize it. It makes a really big difference, these little touches. So definitely tune in. This will give you some awesome ideas. What we're now going to do is dive in to the campaigns. The 4 campaigns that we're going to be discussing are the Healthy Holiday Grubathon, Make It a Healthy Holiday Season Teleseminar, webinar, Pay It Forward, and All I Want for Christmas. So we're going to dig into an empathy map. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, an empathy map is the ability to walk in the shoes of the people who you're looking to connect with, to really understand who they are, so the byproduct of your interaction is they say, wow, Dr. Hassel, he gets me. That's the goal of the empathy map. And the way you do that is through preparation. So you start to really see where they are. So we're going to dig into that in a moment. But just so some universal communication techniques. One of them is obviously to engage people on an emolectual level. We're not going to dig into this here because there is a 30-minute video training in the Academy. So just go into the Academy and you can search emolectual under the marketing section, and you'll find there's a 30-minute video and a special report that will teach you how to do this. If you've been with the tribe for a while, you've probably already seen this a few times. If this is something that's new to you, make sure that everyone in the office does it. It is the epitome of a communication technique that will work every single time as long as you perform it correctly. In addition to that, these are little things that really are just important. Always look people in the eyes when you're speaking with them. I used to train salespeople all of the time when I was doing door-to-door sales, and I always found that when people were about to close, they would look away. And just that short, slight look away would mean that the individual who they were communicating with felt less secure in the conversation. Just look them in the eyes. Their eyes are the window to their soul, and they're making decisions based on their soul. So just find a way to just penetrate right into their eyes. It makes a world of difference. You also want to make sure that you're just ready to communicate at all times and everywhere. Whether you are at the supermarket, whether you're in the gym, whether you're going to the movies with your family, just be ready. Be ready to communicate. You don't need to be in your environment to engage people. Like, this is part of who you are. Just have the ability to engage people wherever you are, introduce them to the culture that you've created in your clinic, and then obviously give them the invitation to get involved. And that also has to do with pitching your campaigns. So if you're out and about in the community and you engage somebody and have a discussion with them, pitch them on what you're doing. Let them know, oh, by the way, we're having a big party at the office called the Halloween Harvest Hootenanny, and I'd love for you to come. I think you're going to really enjoy it. You'll meet other practice members. It's going to be fun. There's going to be food and music and games. Bring the kids. It's going to be fantastic. Like, do that. Pitch the stuff that you're doing. Don't just pitch, why don't you come in for care? because the conduit to get them in might be one of those social experiences. Now they're exposed to you and what you're about and the tribe that you've built, and then as a result they say, wow, yeah, I really want to be part of this, and now they come in for care. And then always just keep in mind that we're going to dig into the empathy now. Enter the conversation that your patients are already having. That's empathy. That's walking in the shoes of the people who need you most. So Dan, let's dig into this right now. We're going to show you a mind map. If this is your first time, just go through this process with us. You're going to notice that there's 6 questions that we're answering as if we are your practice members. So this is how your people are thinking. So that if you were to just take this training and say, okay, this is what they're thinking, it will give you the ability to connect with them on a deeper level. So, Dan, why don't you start this out? I don't know which one's going to go first, so just hit the go button, and we'll see which one goes first.
All right, cool. Here we go. All right, so we got All I Want for Christmas. So we're going to go through, for those of you who aren't familiar with this, we're going to go through 6 questions, and these are the 6 questions of the empathy map. And they will give you a quick overview of how you can put yourself in the shoes of your audience. So for the people who are perfect for the any of these particular campaigns, that's who we're answering these questions for. So the first question is, what do they think and feel on a regular basis? For this particular campaign, I feel fortunate during the holiday time, but I know people are suffering. I think about my family, and I think about people that I see on the news who are homeless. And then I think about children who do not get gifts on Christmas. So there's a lot of this, awareness of people in need. So just think about, how you can incorporate that into a conversation and tap into that need that you can then fulfill. All right, so what do they hear on a daily basis? So we're going to get really specific here. They hear stories of the less fortunate, and it upsets me. I hear people in my life who are suffering, and I want to get them into the office. And they hear about the number of people who are not able to have a quality Christmas. These are things that are bothering them, that they're hearing about, and they want to do something about it. Next up, what do they say and do? I want to give back, but I don't know where. I'm going to do some winter cleaning this year, and where should I give my stuff? And how can I help the less fortunate? So they're like primed. They're going to be in this situation where they are looking to give back. They've maybe even got some extra stuff, extra stuff laying around, and they need to give it away, or they want to give it away. So you just want to provide that conduit for them to actually execute that. Next up, what do they see? They see families who were once financially stable, and now they're suffering. I see people in my family who are unhealthy, and I want them to get into the office. And I see children who will not have a real holiday season. So there's a lot of like I mentioned, stuff that they're seeing on a regular basis, stuff that they're hearing on a regular basis has a lot to do with this awareness of need. So incorporate that into your communication strategies. Share this with your staff so that they're aware of it too, and they know who you're actually going to be targeting for this campaign. Next up, what are their pains? All right, this is a more general question, but it's going to be answered and followed up by the final one. So I'm upset about people who are unable to enjoy this time of year. I'm bothered that people in my family suffer, and I'm uncomfortable to enjoy my abundance while others suffer having less stuff, so or less sense of fulfillment. So these are pains that they're experiencing, and the way that you can use this in your communication with them is by saying, hey, John, I know that you mentioned that a lot of members of your family aren't under care and they're suffering. This is a time of year for you to reach out to them and share the chiropractic philosophy. Bring them in. We'd be happy to sit them down and see what we can do for them. That's something that would tap directly into John's pains and would alleviate that pain for him. Next up, what do they gain from this event? First off, they're giving back. So you're going to be satisfying that desire for them to contribute to the community, to give back, and exercise some selflessness. They get people that you care about healthy, and they'll change their lives during this time of year. So these are are ways of exercising that desire and providing that conduit, like I was just mentioning, for them to contribute back to the community. That's really the theme of this particular campaign, and one that you should be aware of when you're talking to your patients, talking to people outside of your office who are not even aware of what you do. This is something that they're experiencing, regardless of whether or not they know who you are. So you can use this as a part of a conversation, as a starter of a conversation with somebody in line at the supermarket or whatever, and use this as, like I mentioned, a conduit to then open up a larger conversation about either their health or the health of somebody that they love. Okay. So next up, we've got, looks like, all right, make it a healthy holiday season.
Awesome. So this is a teleseminar/webinar. It's I love this one because it doesn't just focus on like the typical like fitness and nutrition. There's also like the spiritual/headspace component. Really great program. So what are your people thinking and feeling? Well, they think that the holiday time should be fun, but it's stressful. And I'm sure that you can understand where they're coming from, right? They are going to have to experience their in-laws. Maybe that's a horrific thing for them. What else are they thinking and feeling? Well, I feel like my family will fight me if I want to make this holiday season healthier. Maybe just that fear of the resistance of their family means that they're just going to say it's not worth the battle. So I'll just be unhealthy during this holiday season. And they also possibly feel lonely. Think about that. Like maybe you're extremely abundant. You have a wonderful family. You have an amazing team. But maybe they don't. Maybe that's one of the challenges that they face, and how great would it be to know that's where they are so that you can engage them in your culture. All right, let's keep going with this. So what do they see? They see other families who are stressed during a time that should be fun. And that might really bother them. Maybe they're really abundant, but the people in their world are like stressed to the nth degree. They're talking horribly about their in-laws, and it bothers them. And they really would rather them take on a new belief system and possibly even come into your clinic so that they can be exposed to what you have to offer. They see that their bank account is depleting as they purchase gifts for everyone. That could create a huge stress, right? They're looking at their bank account each evening, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's going down, it's going down. And they see so many people who look unhealthy because of the food they eat, lack of activity, and the stress in their lives during the holiday time. So they actually see people, maybe even themselves, and they just don't look happy. They don't look healthy. They don't look vital. All right, let's keep going.
Last one in the think and feel.
You're on mute, Dan. Oh, there you go. You start again.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. One thing I wanted to point out back in this in the think and feel portion, the last one, I feel lonely during the holidays. You pointed out that you, the people listening right now, you may not know what that feels like. Like you've grown up with abundance, you've got a really strong family ties, and that's a feeling that you're so remote from and disconnected from. And that's the power of this exercise, in that you can see exactly what you should be feeling and what those people are feeling, so you can start to put yourself in their shoes and be aware of what those feelings are. So I just wanted to give that interjection.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a great interjection. All right, cool. Let's keep rocking this. Oh, you got there. Cool. All right, so what do they hear? They hear about the dangers of sugar and unhealthy food during the holiday. That's something that they hear, and they hear the dangers of this. This happens to be on the news. They see articles on social media. They might hear it from you. They hear that stress is dangerous, right? We know this, right? Stress kills. And if they're going to encounter a quarter of their year, which is stressful, that's pretty scary. And they hear that the holiday should be fun and filled with love. That's pressure. What if it's not for them? What if right now they're operating from a place of like opposing the holidays? Like they're like, oh, just don't happen, because they know that there's going to be stress, but it should be fun, and they can't find a way to make that transition. Your teleseminar/webinar has the opportunity to do that for them, but recognize where they are. All right, let's keep going. What do they say and do? This year will be different, but I don't know what to do. Is there a chance they say that? Like this is the time of the year where they're like, I'm making a declaration that this year is going to be different than the last. I'm not going to eat unhealthy. I'm not going to be stressed. I'm going to hug my in-laws. I'm going to smile. But they don't even know where to begin. Your program has a chance to be that catalyst for them. I'm going to create space for myself during the holidays, but I'm afraid that this will not be granted. Maybe that's really what they need. Maybe they just need to find a way to create 30 minutes a day for them to just sit in reflection and peace and quiet, or go to the gym or read or whatever just brings joy to their existence, but they just don't think that it's possible. And maybe your teleseminar could be the catalyst to make them realize that it's possible. I'm going to make this a healthy holiday season. Maybe they are saying that. Maybe they're actually saying that this year is going to be different, and I'm going to make this a healthy holiday season, and that's why your program is so relevant for them. All right, let's keep going with this. What are their pains? Their child gets sick from too much sugar. Sorry, I leaned in so closely I couldn't see what it said. So that their child gets sick from too much sugar. That's a pain. Like that's very unsettling to know that their child just ate too much unhealthy food that made them sick, that their family will disagree with them because of their desire to make this a healthy season. That's very uncomfortable. Maybe they just got involved with your clinic over the past few months, and they've made this metamorphosis to their life, and their family doesn't even know yet. And now all of a sudden they're going to the holidays, and their family's accustomed to eating things with butter and fat and unnatural ingredients, and they're like, no, I don't want to do that. I've just made this change, and they're afraid that there's not going to be that welcoming environment. And then their pain is headaches, stress, there's actual real pain, there's weight gain. People experience this during the holidays. All right, let's keep going. And what are they going to gain? What do they have the potential to gain as a result of participating in this teleseminar/webinar? They're going to learn how to make this a healthy holiday season in areas other than just fitness and nutrition. That's a huge gain. Make sure that you let them recognize that. They're going to get inspired. They're going to get fired up. There's never enough inspiration in this world. So let them know that you'll be pumped up. You'll be ready to take on this holiday season, and they're going to be able to help other people based on what they've learned. That's one of the basic human needs, is that a sense of contribution. They're going to learn skills that don't just improve their lives, but will also improve others as well. All right, Dan, take it away.
Cool. So the next one we got is Healthy Holiday Garbathon. So this is the potluck. This is a really cool one. So let's dive right in. First, what do the people who will be perfect for this workshop think and feel? Well, they feel overwhelmed because the holiday season's coming. They know that they're going to eat a ton of food and gain weight as always. So this is like the standard holiday mentality, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, so I don't have to talk very much about it. But that's what these people are either feeling or are in the situation to come. All right, next, I think about how hard I worked all year to be healthy and how this is going to fall off, how I'm going to fall off track during the end of the year. This has to do with family, like Jared was just saying. This has to do with just the societal pressures of, eating the sweet potato casserole with tons of marshmallows on top instead of the steamed green beans. Those are the kinds of things that they're thinking about, and how they're going to react to it. They're literally scared about how they are going to react to it. So this is an event that you can help with. Next up, I'm trying to think of healthy alternatives to the normal holiday grub. So they're trying to be creative. They're trying to keep an open mind. This is an event that will help them with that. Next up, what do they see? They see recipes filled with dairy, high fat, lots of butter, lots of artificial ingredients, and not many fresh food. So when you see that kind of thing, it kind of restricts your idea of what is possible for a holiday meal or just a meal in general. So open their mind. This is an event that will help them open their mind and spark that creativity and let them see what's really possible. They see their children and they want them to learn how to live a healthy lifestyle, but they're lost. They don't know what to do. They see invitations to multiple holiday parties, which means that I'm going to gain weight. So this is an event that you can not only share these recipes, but share some strategies that they can take and use when they're going to these holiday parties or when they're put into quote-unquote riskier situations where they're less sure of themselves or they don't really know how to handle the pressures. Next up, what do they hear? They hear about how much weight people gain during the holiday season. They hear other parents talking about their concerns for their children's health because of the junk food during this time of year. And they hear their child asking for desserts, sweets, and unhealthy foods. This is something that a lot of parents are worried about when their kids are constantly, where's the candy? Or I only want to have the big fat casserole dish and not the steamed green beans. Those are the things that they're worried about and what they hear all the time. Next, what do they say and do? They say that you can only have one piece of dessert and the child's crying. They go to the store to find healthy alternatives, and they just don't know what to do. They don't know what to search for, and even if they find it, they don't know what kind of meal that they would make with it. And I don't want to fall off track. So maybe they've been running regularly, or have been on a really great diet regimen, and they think that they're going to fall off track during the holiday season. All right, so what are their pains? Their pains are knowing that their child is being exposed to poor health habits during this time of year. Not only at school, but online, on TV, on the radio, all the time. There are all these messages that are being shared. Another pain. They want to connect with like-minded people because the people in their world just don't get it. They don't have that chiropractic philosophy. They don't have the wellness mindset. I've worked so hard this year, and I know that these last few months will end everything. So this is something that repeats a lot in these campaigns with the end of the year when you're setting about to set resolutions. This is something that you should attack head on and say, you guys have worked hard for the last 8, 9, 10 months of the year. Don't throw it all away. Don't get off track, because when January comes, you're going to be in a much better place to set a resolution. Now, finally, what do they gain from this? So they learn how to make normal holiday treats with healthy ingredients. That's something that is the best of both worlds. It's a delicious meal, but it's also good for you, and that satisfies the worries about their kids as well as their own diet regimen, exercise regimen, all that stuff. They gain strategies that will help make the holiday season less stressful, so they're not worried about what they're going to be, bringing to the holiday party or what they're going to be eating at the holiday party. They'll meet people in the community who believe in what I believe. So your potluck is going to be a networking event. It's going to be a fun community social event that they can come and meet other people and spark some really strong relationships that they can then go back to when things get tough, or they're looking for a running partner. That's a long-term commitment that you are allowing them to make when they come to this event. All right, so I think we got the last one here. Or is that it?
There's one more. Maybe it's up top. Maybe you just want to scroll up there. I don't know, maybe it's not part of the...
All right, pay it forward. I'm going to zoom in here.
Cool. So pay it forward. So this is going to be relatively similar to All I Want for Christmas. They're coming from the similar place, but hear it through this lens. So, what are they thinking and feeling? I feel fortunate during the holiday time, but I know that there are people suffering. So they're definitely feeling that way. This is on their mind. They're thinking about people who are less fortunate, and they happen to be extremely abundant, and that's bothersome. I think about my family, and I think about the people that I see on the news who are homeless. I think about all of the canned items we have, and I want to give back. So this is on their mind. Like they're thinking about this stuff, and if you know that, then when you engage them, it's like, wow, you were thinking what I was thinking. All right, let's keep going. What do they hear? They hear stories of the less fortunate, and it upsets them. That's extremely bothersome. No one wants to see others suffer, so that really just it's something that they harp on. I hear people in my life who are suffering, and I want to get them to the office. There's a very good chance of that. Think about it. Part of this campaign is they are going to get coupons to bring people into the clinic, and they know there are people in their life who are suffering, and they want to find a way to get them into the clinic, and this could be a conduit to make that happen. I hear about the number of people who do not have a warm meal during the holiday. This is all over the news. This is all over the internet. There's millions of people that don't have what we're all grateful for having, and they want to find a way to just give back. So what are they saying and doing? I want to give back, but I don't know where. So there's a chance they're saying that, right? They just don't even know where to give back to. Why not get involved with what you're offering at your office? I want people in my family who are suffering to begin to live like me. This is something that for every campaign, just think about this. If you have people in your clinic that have made a transformation, which we know that you have, there are people in their life who have not, and it bothers them that they have and that the people in their life have not. That's on their mind, so connect with them on that level. How can I help the less fortunate? They're saying this to themselves. They want to find a way to do it, and the best way to do it is through your clinic. All right, let's keep going. What do they see? I see families who were once financially stable and now they are suffering. In every community, there are people that have been hit hard by the economy or by the housing bust, and they're suffering. They had great jobs, they got laid off, and now they can't even pay their bills. I see people in my family who are unhealthy, and I want them to get into the office. So this is the holiday time. They're going to see people who they're sick, they're uncomfortable, they're overweight, and they want them to make a change. I see children who will not have a real holiday season, and that's extremely bothersome. They want to be able to give back to those kids. All right, what are their pains? I am upset about the people who are unable to enjoy this time of year. It's on their mind. It's a pain for them. I am bothered that people in my family suffer, and I am uncomfortable to enjoy my abundance while others suffer. So one way to give yourself the permission to enjoy it is to know that you're giving back and at least playing your part. And then what are they going to gain? Is that they are going to have a chance to give back. They're also going to have a chance to get people that they care about into the clinic so they can be healthy as well. And they're going to change lives during this time of year. The ultimate sense of contribution. It's the reason why many people exist, is to just contribute. And what you're doing is creating a culture where that can take place. And that is a very special thing to do. So this is an empathy map. So how do you go and use this? Well, you bring your team into this discussion and you start creating empathy around each of the campaigns that you're pursuing. And maybe you just use what we created, but the goal is that when you really communicate with someone, they say, wow, Dr. John Doe, he gets me. That's what's going to move someone to take action. So let's now open in our final few minutes. There was a few that were submitted, so we'll do our best to go through them. So anyone on the live chat, there's a Dr. Moore, and then there's someone named Transform. Do you guys have any questions as we go through here? Let's see what has been sent over. So one of the questions that was submitted, and you guys please feel free to speak out if you're in the live, is how can I get kids into the office for the Grubathon? So one mechanism is to make sure that you choose a time that would work for kids. That might seem so obvious, but it's often not. So really keep in mind that if you're going to want kids to attend, that you choose a time that works for kids to attend. But another thing that comes to me, and Dan, feel free to contribute here as well, is bring in other businesses that are kid-friendly. In the Facebook group during this session, I was just taking a peek, but Dr. Matthew Norton just posted for his clinic, they did Free at Last, and they brought in like reptiles, like snakes and stuff that kids can play with, and they decorated the office like that. Like, that's a kid-friendly environment. So if you are doing that, go into the emails and just add a few things and say kids are welcomed, and this is the reason why, and there's going to be something fun there to entertain the kids while the parents are being exposed to how to make this a healthy holiday season. So
you can also
Dan, any other ideas?
Yeah, you could also use some pictures of kid-friendly food. So, you know, like healthy, snacks that have fun faces on them or whatever. You can go on, if you search on Pinterest for, healthy holiday snacks, and you'll find a lot of stuff that you can then share on social media to build the buzz. The idea that you just introduced, Jared, in letting people know that kids are welcome, is to let that be known with the parents ahead of time. So when you're inviting them to the office and you're promoting this event, you make it known that this is a kid-friendly event, that you want the kids to come, and that there will be food that the kids will be, encouraged to eat. That'll be fun and creative and exciting for them as well. So that's what I would do to kind of build the buzz for that event.
Awesome, awesome. So another one that was submitted, it's a good question. What should I do to reach out to charities for the Pay It Forward food drive? So I'm going to throw out ideas here, and then you feel free to contribute as well. One thing is I would talk to some of the ambassadors, people that really believe what you believe, and ask them, like, what are some local charities you really believe in, that get you excited, that you're passionate about, and so we can really find a way to get them involved with this Pay It Forward, because then you at least know that this is a charity that the ambassadors care about. So when they go out and they start spreading the message for you, they're like, yeah, this really has meaning, and that's why I'm getting behind it. So that would be a technique that I would employ. Otherwise, I would also think about things that have meaning to you, that are local. And then just engage them, just reach out. Just go and have a meeting with whoever their president is or the person in charge of taking in any goods, and just share your why, share your how, share your what, share your who, share your why. Find ways to work together. Let them begin to give out coupons coupons to anyone who is contributing, so now they're gaining exposure for you because obviously you're going to contribute a lot as well. But that's what I would say. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing is what you mentioned in terms of finding out what's more important to you and what's important to your community, because that's going to ultimately be the driver behind this campaign. You know, when you're halfway through the month and you're doing pretty well, and you start getting that idea where, you know, at the end of the third week, you know, we've been doing pretty well, so maybe let's back off at this point. The thing that's going to keep you going and really cause this campaign to gain traction in those last 2 weeks or so is going to be your passion for the topic and for the recipient of these donations. So find a local either soup kitchen, or, you know, it could even be something as like the YMCA or the Boy Scouts, or you can reach out to those organizations if you want to find a charity if they don't actually need the donations. So start looking through your network and consider who either is in need in your network, or who in your network would know somebody who's in need, and then kind of just find them from there. But make sure that it kind of resonates with you, because when it resonates with you, then you're able to spread that excitement among your staff, and then your staff spreads that excitement among your entire practice. So that's really where I would start, you know, focusing and say, like, where do I feel is the most, you know, need present in terms of the organizations in my community, and then approach them and say that this is what I want to do. I'm setting up a food drive, and I would love to contribute to your organization or your company.
Awesome. That's great. There's a few other questions that were posted, so we'll just respond. I don't know who those people are, but we will respond to them just because we're a little bit over now. And we will answer them next week as well, so we'll carry those over so everybody has the answer. So next week, topic, we are going to focus on the little things that make a world of difference and closing. So just get ready for that. Shout out to some active Facebook participants. I already mentioned Norton Chiropractic Wellness. Great job with posting your pictures and success. Dr. Jack Cole, Phil Carlisle, Brian McCarley, Matt Murdoch, who is coming out of the gates and rocking it, Steve Bordage, Dr. Herr, and there was really many others. I mean, this list is getting huge here, so we just have to try to limit it to the best of our ability. But a great job, everyone. As always, please make sure that you send all questions to support@synpractic.com. We are here to support you, whether that's website related, mastermind related, strategy related, dashboard related. Just email support@synpractic.com. Things to remember: make sure to dig into the Dr. Ermacher training. This is a fantastic lead generation training, definitely worth your time. And then also, if you want to have the chiropractic testimonial that I put together on your website, just email support@synpractic.com and we'll get that added for you. And then finally, let me share the quote of the week. One moment here. So, because we were talking about, you can click on me to see it, because we were talking about overturning objections and not looking at it as being rejected, but rather as a response, I thought that this was fitting. Acknowledge criticism. Be not subdued by it. Keep it within a constant reminder to provoke you enough to fight and disprove it. Will Rogers. I mean, that is awesome, because there's always going to be people that respond who aren't ready. They're not critiquing you as an individual. They're just not ready to take action at the moment. So with that, acknowledge it, accept it, but use that as your fuel. I mean, what excites me most is that on this journey that we've built, there have been many people along the way that said we were crazy. Like, first off, when we decided to just work with chiropractors in 2014, my entire professional network said I was nuts. And I said, no, something, that's okay, because we believe in this group, and I accept the criticism as fuel for our fire, and it has drove us to make this thing work, as should all of you. When you access your why, you know what drives you. Nothing should stop that. Nothing. No one's response, no one individual who says, no, I'm not ready. Nothing should stop you, and this is a powerful quote that you can use to just let that fire just fuel inside. So go out there and rock it. Great job, everyone. And if you need anything at all, please feel free to reach out, and we will speak with you soon. Thanks so much.